Welcome back to another episode of the Juan Podcast. I'm your host, Juan. As always, follow me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at the Juan Podcast. And today we have Mandy with us. Mandy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Juan. Thanks for having me.
So we connected on Instagram and you reached out to me and you said that you wanted to speak about this matrix. And I know you have a podcast and you also do some, what is it that you do with the oxygen, CBD infused oxygen?
Yeah, I have what's called the Portal, and it's a holistic lab and a healing arts gallery. So what I do is I try to bring the metaphysical, the concept of metaphysics into a more physical, practical tool way. And one of those is administering aromatherapy CBD oxygen. And so a lot of people would say, what does it have to do with metaphysics? And really it's about, well, first the basic one, which is everyone's, muzzled right now. And we're not breathing correctly. So if this is ever a time to really use some oxygen, it is right now. But really my approach is about awakening the prana, the life force. And we do that simply just by breathing. And we don't realize how much we're not really breathing until we have that tube. I give my guests really pretty cool neon tubes to put in their nose, which they keep for sanitized purposes. And, you're feeling that oxygen for the first time running through your nose and you're like, oh my gosh, is this really what it's like to feel like legit air going through my nose? Is this how I should be breathing all the time? So it's actually feeling that prana and incorporating essential oils and CBD is incorporating the aspect of the plant medicine and integrating, going back into the organic human, because I'm all about the organic human timeline. So perhaps that's part of my mission on Earth. I consider myself a cosmic agent, and I guess I was programmed as unfolding that organic path, and we do that by integrating the pure oils and the CBD, the plant medicine, and then the prana of the oxygen.
Interesting. And before we get deeper into it, can you share your social media with whoever wants to find your work or connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. If you'd like to follow the Portal on Instagram, it's the Portal_EP, or you can go to my personal page, which is Cosmic.Native.
Awesome.
And I'm mostly on the Instagram. The Facebook, I'm kind of like, I don't really care. We're going to shut that off.
So what got you into that type of, because and it seems like everything that honestly, it seems like the only thing that I've been talking about as of lately has been it, you know what I mean? Like the everything that's going on in the world has just been about COVID. That's all we talk about. That's all we consume.
Yeah.
And I took a break for 7-8 months because of a family emergency. My dad had a heart attack, right? And it was at the beginning. So I thought that 2020 was wild. At the beginning of 2021, it was like, no, this is going to be an even wilder ride than 2020. And so I took a break because I had to take care of the family business and whatnot. And then I finally got back into it. But and I actually have somebody in my DMs right now that we're talking about how dark everything is right now, as far as like the energy and just the atmosphere and the anger that some people have, especially at this time. It's almost like a mass hysteria, this hypnosis. And I've talked about simulacra where people take symbols and they give value to it for no apparent reason. Just because you have a symbol of a cross doesn't mean it's God, or just because you have a symbol of Christ, it doesn't mean it is Christ. And for some people, it is the literal meaning of God or whatever it is, right? And we use all these symbols. And I've been wanting to do mushrooms for a little bit now. And I saw Joe Rogan live on Saturday, and he started talking about mushrooms. And I told my fiance, I'm like, I want to do mushrooms again. And I grew my own mushrooms for like 3 months. And the first time I did it was like this weird experience, because it's like this I was that much closer to it. I took it for like a spiritual type of thing. I wanted to look inward. And when I ate the mushrooms for the first time, it was all that work of taking care of them every day for 3 months, looking after them, making sure that they were growing correctly. And it was like this weird like spiritual thing for me. It's like, oh, I'm eating like what I've made. And not only that, but I'm in this other dimension now. And long story short, it was a horrible trip for my first trip.
Oh no.
It was horrible. It was at the peak of Corona, and it was probably the worst. I had an ego death, and it changed my life, honestly. And it's a cliche to say that, but it really did, because it just rewired the way I think about things. And just, we're so caught up in the insignificant bullshit of life. And yeah, so it's funny you say that, because I have this mixed relationship with the big pharma, because my dad also has MS. He's diabetic, and I've seen the corruption of these things that they need to keep you sick to keep you coming back. That's what people don't understand, that it's a business. And there are alternatives, holistic medicine, Reiki healing, other things that we're not open to. Why? Because we were indoctrinated from the very beginning to say, look, that's bad. It's not going to work. Right. So I have this animosity towards the big pharma, because my dad's MS treatment is $30,000 a month. Jeez, and if you don't have insurance, you don't die from it. Guess what? There's no cure. You don't die from it, but you slowly just degrade, and your body just eats itself. And some people will just stop breathing just because their muscles and everything gives up. And that's dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? You hit the nail on the head when you said you had an ego death with your mushrooms. Well, actually, it's what the entire planet is experiencing right now, is their ego death, and they're walking through the dark shadows. They're through their shadow self, really, and it's manifesting collectively with this collective narrative of COVID and being sick and like the end of days. And then everyone's also having their own individual experience of what that looks like. Are they not being authentic to themselves as far as their work? Are they not being authentic to themselves as far as human being, their alignment of, who they are and what they want to be? And we are experiencing, I don't know if anyone's ever said this, to you in the last year and a half, but some at the very beginning would say that COVID is actually part of the crown. So accessing that crown chakra, on that multidimensional level of really opening ourselves up to the most, pure potential, supernatural human beings that we can, because the earth is having her own time of ascension, time of regrouping, time of evolution. And so when this is happening, and we can measure this scientifically with the Schumann resonance. And so when this is happening and the energies are changing, guess what? We are also earth bodies. So our energies are going to change. And I used to read, like Barbara Clow and some other, authors back when I was really young, and they would say, prepare for this time, because people are going to start to lose their minds, because the energies are going to get really weird. And it's only because we're just changing our vibrations. Now, I didn't know, and it's really fascinating. I didn't think it was going to show up like this, like a pandemic, right? But really, it's like, there's so many levels to it, and it is actually the most fascinating time to be awake, because it's like, in my perception, we're witnessing this sci-fi movie like playing out in front of us. It's super sci-fi, right? So the thing is that because the energies are changing, everything in the atmosphere of Earth and in our dimension is becoming more malleable. So what you believe, perceive, and embody in your energy, in which you project, guess what? You're manifesting it, you're creating it. And at the same time, you are also either becoming more a part of the illusion, or you're becoming kind of like a fringe dweller outside of the illusion, saying, yikes, this is not real. This is not, I don't want to be a part of this movie. Does that make sense?
That's scary, because I've delved into the world of the Gnostics and the demiurge and the false reality that in the movie the 2001 Space Odyssey, HAL, In Coptic, that means simulation. In Coptic, the Gnostics use that. And I actually brought this up on the live stream I did yesterday with my buddy Tom on Strange Brew Podcast, and we have a side show where we just talk about all types of stuff. And I said, when we look at the planetary and the celestial bodies, according to Gnostic cosmology, we live in a world created by the demiurge, and the demiurge is the Satan archetype. And I said, is it weird that we find beauty within that, in something that the demiurge created? Because it's supposed to be evil, but if you look at it, it's beautiful, right? So is it bad that we think that it's beautiful? And when you talk about that, about either becoming part of the simulation or whatever, or right now I feel that everybody that's awake, and I don't like using that term woke or anything like that, but if you're awake, I feel like we are the ones that broke out of Plato's cave, and we're coming back inside to tell the others and saying, hey, there's another world out there. These shadows that you're seeing is there's more to it than that. And obviously we know how that story goes, where the people within the cave were fighting against, because they didn't want to break free. It's Stockholm syndrome, what's going on right now.
Totally.
And to touch on what you said earlier, corona in Spanish means crown. So it would make sense with the crown chakra. And that's what Kundalini is all about, right? Aligning the chakras and opening yourself up, right? And being able to, is it a form, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not well versed in this at all, is it to where you can line up your chakras and you're able to ascend like into like a light body or something, or how does that work?
Well, okay, so with the chakra system, everyone has a chakra system, right? And we work with the main 7 chakras, from the root all the way up to the crown. And so when we have all these chakras and in the Kundalini lit up, which that is the Kundalini, and you see that the serpents coming together, anytime you see Kundalini work, that's bringing your left and right brain together, your masculine, your feminine, your dualities together. And that's essentially what it is to get the balance of the chakras all in this light alignment. And so really what it is you're ascending regardless whether you're working on this or you're not. There's just different levels. And it doesn't mean that you're going to leave this body. It means we're going to have the experience in the physicality. So what we're doing is we're anchoring that cosmic energy by accessing all the way up to the crown to access that connection to God, universe, cosmos, source, however you want to see it. That's the energy we want to anchor in at the same time of being rooted in a healthy, balanced rooted. And that's the red root chakra. And we're bringing the earth, so the grounding and the cosmos together. So we're having this fusion, this ultimate, what is
as
the
above,
next version?
So below.
Absolutely. Yeah. What is this ultimate, human experience now? Because listen, we're done. We can, whether you're in the matrix system and totally like in the fear, or whether you're like us, who were the fringe dwellers and we're like, what the hell's going on? This is nuts. We all are agreeing that we don't want to participate in this collective, elaboration anymore. We want to end suffering. We want to end, the notion of samsara, where it's over and over and over again, and we're just perpetuating this like lower density experience on earth. We agree, we don't want to do that anymore. So therefore we're changing the game. The planet's changing the game, we're changing the game, the whole cosmos is changing the game. So going back to your idea of, sometimes we might find aspects of the demiurge beautiful. Well, that evil flipped backwards means what? Live. Evil is live. So it's an inversion. So it's very interesting because the system that we live in, the system that we live in is paradoxical. Okay, it's a game, and I don't mean it like loosely, like nobody can die and stuff like that, and it's not meaningful. No. I mean, there are certain elements of design within this cosmic system that makes it paradoxical. So a lot of things, and they know this, the Illuminati, the families of nobility, the infiltrated Freemasons, they know this system. So, and it's part of esoterica. That's what esoteric symbols are. So in the system, there are inversions, and that's one of them. Evil is an inversion to live. So the demiurge is like gonna reside in low density. Negative energy, what does it do? Negative energy separates and it disintegrates. Positive energy comes together and it grows and it's collective. That's literally just the mechanics of energy, right? So if we look at something and we want to say as human beings, well, that's evil. Okay, what is it doing? Is it separating? Is it causing destruction? Okay, so that's the inversion of living. It's not causing growth. It's not allowing for further unfoldment, the expansion, which is life, right? So that's where we're like, okay, we experience this design in polarities, in the good, the evil, the dark and the light, the black and white, the high and the low, as above, so below, right? We've experienced that. Okay, so now in our next evolution, now it's time to come into the fusion of these things and incorporate that paradox, incorporate that, okay, listen, this stuff looks grim and dark, but guess what? We can't get lost in it. What is the good that is the good, the higher potential, the expansion that is coming out of this? And one of the things that I can tell you is that people are waking up to pharmaceutical stuff and this craziness of illness versus healthy people and saying, you know what, wait a second, why is our society, why is our world cultivated to make us sick? That doesn't make sense. We don't want to allow that anymore. That's ridiculous, right? We have all these technologies and you're going to tell me that your dad has to pay $30,000 a month because of his illness? That's insane.
That's the generic brand too. So
okay, yeah. There you go. So, another thing is we see these flaws in the systems, the school system, work systems, medical system. So they're breaking down, and we're like, yes, break down, because people like you and I, hopefully, we step into our mission, and many others, to start to create new systems.
And I posted today, I did a reel from the live last night where I said society's fucked because some people walk on this thin line and they're so easily swayed. They see one thing and they're so easily swayed, right? They're easily manipulated from one little thing that they see on the media. I say defund the media because we only see one side of the story, and people are convicted before. Innocent until proven guilty doesn't exist anymore. It's if they got you on the media, people are convicted even before they hit that courtroom, right? Mm-hmm. So and I forgot what you mentioned earlier. So, yes. I was looking into Theosophy and Helena Blavatsky and those type of doctrines, and you mentioned the Freemasons and the yin and yang, where it's the checkered board, the black and the white. And you brought up an interesting point because you said we have to find the goodness and everything that's going on, even if it's all evil. And I learned recently that some of the doctrines, these individuals, I call them the reptilian overlords because that's what I like to think of them, the archons, the negative energy, whatever they are. What if they are actual lizard people? Who knows? But that's what I refer to them as. And it's always problem, solution, rinse and repeat, right? And that's what the demiurge wants to keep us here for. The Ouroboros, right? The snake eating its own tail. And that's what I love about the Gnostics, that which they were obliterated pretty much by the Catholic Church, because they taught they took away the brokerage that's going on right now with everything, with the way you live your life. It's all a brokered experience. Like, no, you have to go through us first in order to enjoy whatever it is that you want to enjoy. You have to go through the church first to achieve divinity. Well, they figured out, it's like, no, we don't. It's like, we are gods. We are the light beings. We're made in the image of God. No, so what more is there to look for? Why do I have to pay you to be able to what? So it's all a business. And so back to the Helena Blavatsky thing, there's also, because I feel that with Aleister Crowley and all these individuals, that who knew about this, they take it and they pervert it, right? Just how the Knights Templar, they I'm pretty sure it was one bad apple spoils the rest. And I've heard that some of these individuals, they will promote and how do I say this? They'll push. They want to be so evil that they achieve divinity. Have you ever heard anything about that? That they want to like I forgot how he worded it, but they want to be so evil that they're divine almost. You know what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah. And that goes back to an old ancient concept that the dark ultimately serves the light. Okay.
Interesting.
So let's break it down. So the demiurge, if we take it to sacred, the notion of sacred geometry, let's have that as a visual and as a blueprint. So you take sacred geometry and you say, or they would say, the first point, just the point, is the existence of God or source, creation, creator. And from that point, there then was a line. And then that's how creation started to create. So point and line. And we can say this is feminine and masculine energies. Feminine energy, and it has nothing to do with gender. Feminine energy is the mechanics of energy being magnetic, drawing to you, okay? Drawing to you. So you, Juan, you have feminine energy. When you're exercising that energy of drawing to you, that's your femininity, okay? Then the line would represent masculine energy. And masculine energy pushes is the action of the energy going out, okay? So magnetics and energetics. And in reality, they work together. They're not one and the same. They're two different systems, but they're in collaboration, in creation with each other. That's why that's also one of our biggest divisive notions. How many times, yeah, exactly, do you hear the mainstream media and they're like, screw the patriarchy and poor women, and women are like, how dare you? I'm a victim. And you're like, listen, you guys, you have both powers. That's an illusion. They've trapped you into believing an illusion that's not true. Women are incredibly powerful. Men are incredibly powerful. And when the two come into collaboration, they're supersonic beings. Okay? So in that sense, we have to look at the demiurge as that breakaway creation. So go backwards. It's still part of creation. It's just playing the inverted role, right? So duality, the system of duality. So one point said, I'm going to play the I'm going to play the role of the live part, and you're going to play the role of the evil part, which is the inverted mirror of what I am. And they play the mirrors of each other. Does that make sense? Counterparts.
Yeah. It's I talk about this all the time. Ancient civilizations. It's all the same thing reiterated, just with different names. Quetzalcoatl, Jesus Christ, Buddha, Krishna. All these guys, they were all the same people. And it's, again, all religions, if you really think, I forgot who I was listening to. I think it might have been Manly P. Hall was talking about this and making a point to where everything is just reiterated over and over and over again. It's that duality that you're talking about, evil. Yeah. And then he also said that he was talking about something sort of like that, the perversion. Just because you're ethnically Chinese doesn't mean you're culturally Chinese. But we live in this society to where it's like, oh, you're Chinese, well, culturally you must be Chinese. Like, no, I'm American or something. You know what I mean? Like these things that we're just like, we have these blinds on, and that's all we see. And when you question the mainstream narrative, or you bring up alternate ideas, how we're talking right now, you're looked at like you're fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and so that's normal. So then let's take it higher, this conversation higher. Let's move from the demiurge and let's go a little bit middle ground before we hit the normal 3D. So you have the mainstream media, but the mainstream media and social media, the internet. So I would say they're one and the same, right? They're propaganda pieces, yes. Right? They can be for your benefit, or they can be to totally MK Ultra your ass if you're like stuck to them. However, who's really running the media and the internet? Go deep, deep, deep. What is it? It's the whole entire inverted system of AI. AI is infiltrating all the systems, even the system of reptilians and the lizards and the archons and all that stuff. Do you know what I mean? they're infiltrating even those creations. And it's like, whoa, wait a second, so we're in a humongous like transmutation, as I would say. I have some writings and some, spoken word about this stuff. Transmutation of the cosmos. This is our transmutation of the cosmos. And the thing is that we've been here before, and that's just how we know how to navigate through this blueprint. And then we know how to change the design with time into what the new transmutation is going to be. So it really is the AI. So when we see things playing on TV or, the same narrative, all this stuff, it's like, yeah, of course there's talking heads. I don't know if you subscribe to clones and doubles. I happen to believe it's true.
Yeah, I was talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like sci-fi, this is the most sci-fi you can go. Like, forget watching like Netflix, just go outside and watch the reality and play, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So it's the AI. Literally, we know that it programs us through our phones, through what we write, through what we search. And then guess what? The way AI understands things is to categorize everything and subcategorize everything over and over and over and over again. Okay. That's not organic human construct, because guess what? We can take the notion, like I said, in ancient times, they were working off of fusion, collective consciousness, right and left brain, paradoxical understanding and philosophies. Okay. So now that we're like in all these pieces, you see, this notion of like all these like 50,000 genders, I don't know, and it's because it's part of that like categorization of human being. That's not, I'm sorry, but that's not part of the natural organic unfolding system. That's an AI system to be able to compartmentalize all these categories of things, to be able to understand, because that's the only, it doesn't have creative thought. AI does not have creative thought. That's why when it does things like these false flags or like this regurgitation of stuff that, damage that we see, it's kind of the same thing. We already know how it's going to play. There's no creativity because it's who's behind it. It's the AI. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. And when you talk about the AI, and I've talked about this transhumanistic movement, and I was a big Elon Musk fan, but Elon Musk is pro transhumanism, and he wants to become one with that Neuralink, right? He wants to connect us quick. And what I tell people is pay attention to the symbols. The symbols are the language to the soul. It's neuralistic programming that they're doing, that they have in the background. And just a few weeks ago, I believe it was the CIA or the government, they admitted to having AI that's able to predict events days in advance. Is that 2 days, 3 days, 4 months, 5 months, a year? Because right now we're building all these modern day towers of Babel and fucking with things that we shouldn't be fucking with. And I feel it's to cause more separation within ourselves, because I feel that back then everything was much more, how do you say this? Dare I say, magical, and we've lost this sense of touch and oneness with nature. And you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast that Mother Nature is having her own ascension, and reality itself is that much more malleable. And that, honestly, I never really thought about it like that. That as we move on, and I don't know if you're familiar, has the age of Aquarius already happened, or are we transitioning right now to that?
Yeah, we're transitioning to that. And we are already in more than the middle of reaching that. And here's the thing. People think that the age of Aquarius is one day going to appear and we're going to be like butterflies and rainbows and throwing granola everywhere. But really, that's not the concept. Those concepts are somewhat programmed, AI dysfunctional concepts. The concept is taking complete responsibility and access to you yourself as the human earth body on this planet. And by doing that, it's the basics. Like, how can I be responsible for myself, for my actions? for me taking care of myself. And it's a big inverted mirror in this whole COVID scenario, because what did people do? They wanted to blame you for not being masked. They want to blame you for not being vaccinated. They want to blame you for going outside. How dare you? You're going to get me sick. And it's like, where's the personal responsibility? The responsibility going back to, again, ancient times, like you were saying, we are the gods. We are the one unfolding the destiny. We are the one creating the experience. So in a sense, we can't really blame so much the Illuminati or the infiltrated Masons or the lizard people, because guess what? We are them. We have allowed this to take place on our planet.
Yeah.
We have to take responsibility.
It's, who was it? Alan, I think it was either David Icke or Alan Watts. It said, the intention goes where the energy goes, or some shit like that. The intention flows where the energy goes, something like that. Tom brought it up yesterday. And history doesn't repeat itself. It often rhymes. And what you're talking about, this seems so familiar to me, of blaming one group of people, blaming society's problems on them. It reminds me of something that's already happened in history, but today's generation, they don't know how to read, so they don't look back. They don't care about. I've had people tell me, "Oh, what does it matter?" I've had people tell me, "Oh, just let them do whatever they want to do. They're gonna win in the end." I go, "Well, what you don't understand is that as a collective, if you have enough people, it's like a religion or a cult, whatever it is. As a people, if you have enough people thinking the same thing as you or them or whatever it may be, it comes true. It becomes true, and it's what you're talking about, the forming of reality, and how in the Matrix, such a great movie. And I was talking to Tom, and I said, I watched recently Fight Club, and like these weird movies that just have these crazy plot twists that you're not expecting at all. And I recently saw one on Netflix, thanks to the good old lizards at Netflix. I forgot the name of it. It's with Jason Momoa. I think it's called Little Girl. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's like that. It's got this plot twist where you're like, holy shit. And no matter how many times I watch Fight Club, right, these weird, crazy movies, or The Matrix, especially Fight Club, because at the end, I'm always mind blown. Holy shit, I didn't know it was him the whole time. It's like, wow. And sometimes when people, they're walking this thin line, how everything's been as of lately, right, walking on eggshells, I feel like people glitch out, right? Like they it's like an information overload on whatever it is, whatever their reality is, because some people are NPCs. Some people are just put here just to fill in, and the observer effect is a real thing. That's why I've gotten to the point where I don't even care anymore. I'm just living. I'm just doing my own thing. I be careful with. I'm careful with what I say and what I do, and the type of energy that I put out there, because there's certain ways to go about it. And I've had, ever since this happened, I've had family members wish death upon me because I don't align with certain views. And I tell them, I go, why would you say that? Why would you insinuate that? Because you've already spoke it onto existence. You've already thought about it. So that's like me telling you, hey, you need to, your tires are bald. If you don't change them, you're going to fucking crash into a pole because you're going to lose traction. It's like, hey, get your tires fixed. That's not good to have bald tires. That's it. You don't have to fucking come out and say the rest of the thing. And it's like, you're putting that out there. And I had this date come up. I don't know if the Mayans copied a lot of what the Aztecs did. The Aztecs were the real OGs. They were the ones that built. They even had like the Kabbalistic tree of life, where it's this map to the cosmos, right? They supposedly build maps of the universe. These people, and everybody knows that in 2012 the world was supposed to end, right? 2012, that was the big thing. Oh, December 21st, 2012, the world's gonna end. There was movies about it. There was all this shit about it. Well, I'm seeing September 21st, 2022. Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't heard about that date. However, I would say that if you're seeing these dates, look into the mirror image of things. So we had December 21st, 2012. So if we flip that to the 2012, the mirror version of that would be 2021, right?
A lot
If
of
we're
people
working,
think, yeah, a lot of people think 2021 is the age where, yeah, we awaken because we're seeing the corruption. And I've talked about this where the system is fucked. We saw what happened in March of 2020. We ran out of toilet paper. The supply chain it's so thin. The
yeah,
supply
but then
chain.
what a great opportunity for everyone to get some bidets. That's much more healthier for your ass than
But
toilet paper, to be honest with you.
they freak the fuck out because it's like, I remember when my son was first born, and the hospital had given us these bottles and these disposable like nipples for the bottles. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember when we got sent home, I had bought some. I had bought some extra ones, and we started running
Mm-hmm.
out. Right, he was on formula, and he started running out of the little disposable nipples and all that stuff. And so we start calling the hospital, and we go, "Hey, we're running out of these disposable nipples and bottles and stuff like that. What are we supposed to do? Can you guys sell us some more or whatever?" And they were like, "No, we can't." We're like, what the fuck are we supposed to do? How are we going to feed our son? And the lady was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Bro, just put it in a regular bottle." And then I looked at my fiance, I'm like, why don't we think about that, right? Because you're so
Mm-hmm.
focused, right? You have these blinds
Yeah.
like, oh, there's no other solution, which is what's happening right now. And that's just I like using analogies
Mm-hmm.
uh, to just relate to normal people, because sometimes you'll be talking to somebody and they freak out, right? I
Yeah.
posted a meme today where I was like, well, I'm gonna have a normal conversation, then me 5 minutes later, time is an illusion, and it's like you
Oh
talk
yeah,
to people in that
totally.
way, and they
Mm-hmm.
freak out, and we can see this indoctrination of symbols and how you're talking about. You bring up a good point to where we are the lizards.
We are the lizard. Let me tell
Are
you
you trying
why.
to say it like a Carl Jung type of thing where it's like the shadow of the self, or what do you, because I like to think that there are these arch nemesis of society, and these hooded figures in the dark alleyways that actually want to do good because they feed off that negative energy and the lower vibrational. And I've talked about the Saturn time cube simulation hypothesis,
Mm-hmm.
where everything is being controlled by Saturn, Satan, Kronos, right? And we can
Mm-hmm.
relate that to even Baphomet, right? We can talk about
Mm-hmm.
that where it's related to all these archetypes, Moloch, and it's the same regurgitation over and over again throughout all of history, just with a different label for the different time of whatever it is. Um, but I feel that they feed off and harvest our energy. The Matrix, what were they using us as? Batteries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
everybody was put into, I forgot who it was that said, when they offer him the steak and he's like, oh, that's not real, right? He's like, oh, it fucking tastes real. It's like, well, I'd rather have, I forget who said it. Anyway, it was like, I'd rather have the fake because it tastes good than to know it's fake or some shit like that. So I'm paraphrasing, but I digress. What were you gonna say about the
Well, to the reality that you're creating, which you're like, I'd like to believe that. Yeah, it's true. It's true. On one level, that's all true, because guess what? If you can conceive it and you can believe it, you can achieve it, and it's happening, because then where does it come from? Okay. So on some sub level, it's happening. Just like, for example, people saw, a lot of death in COVID. And so when people say, oh, you think it's a hoax? And I said, that's too one-dimensional. That's too kindergarten. Of course I don't think it's a hoax. I think it's so much more than you're giving it credit for. So I believe that people are living in their own realities, where whether it's part of their soul plan, their karmic retributions, whatever agreements they made, they're seeing it, they're super in the reality, it's real for them. Then there are some of us that we walk into a store without a mask and nobody even bats an eye. It's like you're not even there, okay? Or didn't get sick or anything like that, okay? My point is, everyone's living the reality in which they're projecting in their mind and in the energy. So that reality on some level is happening. Now think of the concept of multidimensionality. If you believe in parallel realities, parallel universes. It's like you drop a stone in a pond, and then you see that geometry of all the circles, right? There's one circle, two circles. So look at it like that. So there's all these like circles, and on top of that,
Emanationism.
there
Plato
you
talked
go.
about that.
Yeah. And then it's like a fan. There's these lines, right? So combining that illustration, that imagery into multidimensionality, and then, still going above and below and sides 360, all that stuff is, we could be led to believe there's a philosophy that, yes, we are in this body, but this is not the only place that we're anchored in. We can also be anchored in other potential places of our multidimensionality, and that's vast and that's infinite. So in this life, we're, what some people would consider good or of the light or for humanity. But who's to say that in another life, in another multidimensionary aspect of ourselves, we're not part of that overlord system, which is why we understand it so well, which is why we're able to work through the illusion out of it. Yin and yang, balancing. Do you know? We can take this notion like so many ways.
Yeah, I was reading a book or audiobook. It's called The Astral Plane, Its Inhabitants, and the Scenery. And in that book, they talk about how if you're a scientist in this lifetime, and in a past lifetime, you might have started that journey, or you were another scientist, right? And this samsara or this Ouroboros, and this emanationism that you're talking about, the middle being the source and the one, right? That's what the play. And it's crazy that we still refer back to guys that were talking about shit that had their own. Can you imagine the Library of Alexandria? It was just, if you really think about it, it was just a bunch of podcast booths, and they were just all having their own podcasts and their own conversations. And a lot of the greatest minds that came out of there, and Plato being one of my favorites, that the philosophers who fucking talked about Atlantis, right? This guy was on a whole nother level. He talks about that, about how thoughts, Plato's theory of forms, where the perfect form exists in this other realm, in this other dimension, this higher dimension. And even today I was listening, and it was Manly P. Hall said, if you believe that once you're dead, that's it, and that's where life stops, you're a materialist or something like that. And if you believe that we go on and our consciousness goes on after death, then you're an idealist. And 90% of people, 90% of people think that there's something that happens after life, right? After you die. All these religions, they all talk about that shit. And the ancient Egyptians, they literally prepared just for the afterlife. That's all they did.
Totally, 100%.
Everything that they did was just towards living in their afterlife, because they knew what was going to happen. And you brought up sacred geometry earlier, where the Egyptians put sacred geometry and everything because they wanted, they saw it as holy. They saw it as it came from the source, right? Perfection. And they wanted to put a little bit of the creator, or the programmer, as I like to call him, in everything. And everything that they built, they would put sacred geometry because they wanted to incorporate that into there. And to elaborate on a point that I made earlier, where we're so focused on these false symbols, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all that's all we work off of. And it's called mimetic occultism, what they're doing nowadays. And what that is using propaganda to speak to people, to their soul. To speak to them on a deeper level, and it speaks to the person's soul. And coincidentally, Plato in Plato's The Republic talked about how they wanted to ban certain arts, certain frequencies, certain sounds, because they believed that they would talk to the soul of the person and would awaken them. And if you really think about it, what's happening right now, they're limiting us from doing what we love, the arts, from going to concerts, listening to music. It's almost like they're trying to initiate the same thing, to where they're limiting us because all these arts, they talk to us, right? We feel good when we listen to music. When we watch a movie, the actors, they speak to us, and it's like this weird thing where they're limiting us right now with that, so we don't, I don't know, further the development or the ascension or whatever it is. And like I said, I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't even try to understand it, because it's how you're saying, it goes deeper than just what we're seeing on the surface. It's not just, oh well, it's just, trust the science. The fucking science doesn't even know where the fuck it stands, and you want me to trust the science? And I can show you, and I can bring up things of in the past that the government, the people who want your best interest, right? The ones that are, they're so concerned with your best interest in hand. I can show you things where those same people, they fucked society and they did things against their own will. The same Nazi mentality of preying on your citizens and experimenting on them. Operation Paperclip, that same mentality came over here. They were putting LSD in people's water, the Tuskegee experiment, all these false flag things that they do to justify what's
psychological warfare.
20 years in Afghanistan for what?
Yeah.
For what?
Exactly. So going back to like hertz and sound and stuff, that's something that we do here. Is one of the medicines is sound healing and binary beats. So to segue into what you're saying is that, Juan, I would encourage everyone that, since we what you're saying is true, okay, we know that we're being experimented on. We know that there's a transhumanism agenda going on. We know that humans were made to be sick, and we're nowhere for many years reaching the supernatural human potentiality that we are made to be. We know that. So in this paradoxical system, we, by being angry and by talking about the fucked up things that they're doing to us, we're going to perpetuate this energy, and that's how they feed on us. So
I still don't think we're the lizards, though. I can't.
Well, I mean, that's okay. You don't have to think it, but again, that's where we create separation by saying we're the good guys, you're the bad guys, you're the lizards, we're the humans. And it's like, there is a notion of, again, if ever we're going to have that clear, for real mutation of the cosmos, we have to take responsibility for what may be, even if we don't understand it. And that's why we got to start learning the esoterica. We got to start learning about quantum healing, quantum physics, quantum reality. We have to learn about sacred geometry. We have to understand, the metaphysics of multidimensionality. All these things are a part of us. That's human. But nobody wants to teach us that in school. They don't even teach us how to be human, how to access those things. We have chakras. What are those?
That shit. Yeah.
Exactly. I know. I mean, so yes, we're made to be dumbed down. We know that. Now, again, in the practicing of this inversion, to flip this whole system over, is to incorporate what you know and to remember what the inversion is. So yes, let me tell you, when I used to live in Florida for many years, and there I studied a lot of my, the occult and all that stuff. And one of the things that I learned when I learned about, child sacrifice and the very disgusting things that they do with children and how rampant pedophilia is in our world, I literally did not want to get out of bed for like a week, because I was like, there's no hope. This is disgusting. This is, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's just like jaw dropping. What do you say? What do you do? Okay. So then when we know these things to be true, and we know what's going on and why they use them and why they do them, then it's up to us, if we're working for humanity, if we're working, for the greater good, the good of the all, we have to find moves to counter. So how do we do that? You're doing it right now. You're having this show, you're opening conversation for people to chime in and to listen and to hope and have expansive thinking and thought. I have the portal, which is the Healing Arts Lab and Holistic Gallery. Other people are doing amazing things, so it's about having that, let's have the conversation to bring it to the table. Let's bring the dark to the table. Like if we're turning on the light and we're seeing all the cockroaches spread everywhere because we need the awareness. Okay. Then we got to understand it. Then we got to counter and be like, we're not fucked. Society's not fucked because guess what? We're society. We are. And many other people. And we're doing, as long as we step into.
I'm the friend that I'm asking for. It's me the whole time, you know? It's dark, man.
Again, if you want to live the experience of living the dark, then you'll have more of that. If you choose that you don't want to have that anymore, then you can also choose in the other way. Again, personal responsibility. That's the ultimate power. That's what makes you God. Yeah. Your creations. You know?
And I think we've lost touch with that as well. We're always blaming others. What's that called? Gaslighting, right? Was there something where you
gaslighting, projecting.
Yeah. No, and that's and what I haven't, ever since this started, my form of meditation and my form of reset. I do a little bit of yoga, and I was doing consistently at least once or twice a month. I was floating, right, in sensory deprivation, and that was helping me a lot, right, to be able to reset. And I feel like ever since this started, if I go, because the whole thing of being there is just you and just your inner demons, right? I feel like with everything that's built up, if I go right now, I'm just gonna have like a hard time because it's scary, you know, like being able to accept responsibility for your choices and your decisions. And it's so easy just to blame it on somebody else, or blame society, or blame whoever it is. And yeah, you what part of Florida were you in?
I was in Sarasota, and then I lived on the far East Coast up in Titusville.
I'm in Orlando right now. So
cool.
Good old Florida.
Good old Florida.
The Florida man. So
yeah. I mean, and you know what too? It's like we have this great opportunity in this malleable creation to just totally like do it how you want to do it. Do it big, do it small, do it creative, do it, you know, however you want.
It can be hard though, especially going against the narrative, you know?
If you believe it can be hard, it will be hard. Everything is based on your belief systems. Did you ever see The Dark Crystal?
The animated, like the puppet movie?
Yeah.
Okay,
the original one, because there's one on Netflix too, which is also really like
I saw part. It's like a show, right? It's like a season. I saw that one, but I remember seeing the original one, but I don't remember it, you know.
Okay, so in the original one, you at least remember the concept of the Skeksis and then the mystics. Okay, at the end of The Dark Crystal, I invite you to go back and watch the ending at least. At the end, when they've defeated the Skeksis and they put one of the Gelfling put the crystal into the dark crystal so it can explode and all this stuff and defeat them. We see that when they die, their souls are a combination of mystics and Skeksis within the Skeksis and the mystics. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so then that tells us, like, what were they trying to tell us? They were trying to show us exactly that, is that as dark as it may seem, everyone is playing a role. And if you believe in God and source creation and that you are that light, you are that intelligence, very, very deep lost, but it's there. Even one speck of neutron, that's also part of the creation of the lizard people, the Skeksis, the Archons, all those that are lost. They're lost in the Demures. That's that system, you know?
It's an amalgamation of just like the feelings and the thoughts and all that shit. I mean, yeah, I could get behind that. It's a narrative fallacy of life, of the world, of you know what I mean, like this
inversion.
Yeah,
inversion. So it's about flipping. See, I thought my mission in life, it's so much more than that. But I thought my mission in life, maybe like 15 years ago, was that I had to flip all the signs, like, you know, that were infiltrated, like flip them. Yeah. That's all I kept seeing. That's all they kept telling me. And so that, I think, is just like a general, you know, everyone's like unfolding is recognize the inversion and the mirror and then flip it. So we don't want to be in evil anymore. We want to live, you know? We don't want to be in the perversion, inversion anymore. We don't want that. That's sick. So we want health, life, honor, respect, harmony, joy.
If only it was that easy, right?
It can be.
But, you know, getting people to think that way. It just, the whole world, you know, animals, they don't care about borders. Who drew those lines? We did. We drew imaginary lines on a map that everyone just out of nowhere respects. Oh no, this is the border. You can't cross that. Why? Says who? When you look at the globe, you know, when you look at the world, unless you think the world is flat, if you look at the world, right, and it's a ball. This is the fucking dumbest thing, right? If you look at the globe, there's no lines. We drew those lines, you know, and people respect them because of why? Because of this indoctrination from the very beginning, and perhaps the you know, the reptilians. We are the dark forces that hold us back from doing the things that we want to do, and like you know, like the whole term scapegoat. I forgot where it was. I think it was in the Book of Genesis or one of these Book of Enoch or something like that. In the book, they were doing an offering to, I believe the angel's name was Azazel. One of these, anyways, it's all convoluted, but in one of these books, and I think it's in the canonical book actually, they were doing an offering to this leader angel, like this top angel, and they would let a goat go into the wild to symbolize the mercy of God, right? And that's how we come up with the term scapegoat. We're letting this goat, right? And it's, again, we're blaming the goat. The goat has the fucking nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? It's just a symbol of whatever it is. But nowadays in society, it's just like we need something to blame. We need a group of people to blame. We need you know, somebody to go after. And I don't know, maybe it's the tribalistic nature of the humans, you know. I just
yeah. And again, another example of outside of ourselves, the opposite of the within. It's like, no, it's not the world inside, it's the world outside that's making this bad and wrong and horrible. And it's like, well, actually, it's flip it. Go within. You are the projector of the movie playing out in front of you. And when you give up so much of your power to the AI, which programs your brain to believe a narrative. Did you ever see Westworld?
Oh yeah, it was one of my favorite shows.
Remember when they would put the narratives in them?
Yeah,
Same
again,
exact concept.
Yeah, and everybody thought that they were living their own life, but in reality, it was they were living out a story. But then, depending on what decisions you took, the story would change, and it would take you down different. And even shows like that, where, spoiler alert, we found out that one of the guys was an AI, but he was like self-sentient, like he knew. But towards the end, when they were like, "Hey," or I forgot the generic thing that they would ask him, they were like, "What door?" or whatever it was, because they couldn't see it. And then when he realized that he was an AI, it was like, it blew my fucking mind. You know, those type of things, like, holy shit, this entire time I thought he was real. And that's the same thing with reality. We think some things are real, but you know, I've gotten to the point where I'm just minding my own business, just trying to live life however I can. And how you mentioned earlier where you couldn't sleep because you were looking into these sorts of topics. And to be honest, that contributed to why I took a break for certain things, because it can get exhausting when, again, certain individuals pervert certain things. And I forgot who said, one time I went on a show and I was kind of talking shit about Aleister Crowley, and the guy got kind of mad because I was talking shit about Aleister because he was like a follower. And he talked about how by him doing that, whatever it was that he did, he set everybody back. It was like everybody was supposed to awaken at a certain time because they have this knowledge, this sacred knowledge, and then they perverted it by either fucking kids or whatever it was that the fuck that they were doing. But it all has to do with the aura and the energy of the children. And I believe that, you know, the reason that they prey on them is because at a certain age, before a certain age, they're not indoctrinated and they feed off that energy. And again, it's fucked up being a parent, right? It's fucked up and it makes me angry, but
well, it's that, and then it's the controversial concept of adrenochrome.
Yeah, exactly. Which who is, you look at who is it? Prince Harry. What's the old one? That's like super old. Didn't he just die? One of the old ones. He was like 90 something. Motherfucker wouldn't die. It's like you wonder what they're doing, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. You know what they're doing. I mean, celebrities, you know, they're doubles if they're still even alive. In America, they're doing it. You know what I mean? It's just so obvious when you look at everything through the lens of this is a sci-fi movie. There are doubles, there are Luciferians, there are the dark occult. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the one thing that I respect about the dark occult, okay? Their magicians are key. They acknowledge that they have dark magicians, okay? But on our side, where we're like, listen, guys, we need to learn this stuff. We need to, and there's dark and there's light occult arts too. Okay.
Is it left hand and right hand path or something like that?
Exactly. Energy is energy. And it's two sides to every coin. It's the way and the intention that you're going to use it. A dark occultist use the inversion current, perversion, the evil. Okay. In the light, or for humanity, uses, you know, expansion, positive energy, healing, growth, life force. Okay. So that's the difference. There is magic. There is, you know, these occult arts, but it's how you use them. Now, so that's my point, is like on our side where we're like, guys, we want to have a great planet. We want to live a good life. We want to be for humanity. Most people want to dismiss it and be like, oh, that's witchcraft. Oh my God, that's the devil too. That's this, that's that. And it's like, hello, they're so powerful because they know how to gather and they respect their dark, you know, magicians. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where is that same, you know, we need that same, you know, and not just a couple of people here. This is why I'm saying everybody educate yourself, take responsibility for your power, access and activate that power. That power is you. We don't need a third party. We don't need anybody, you know, and to take responsibility and be like, let's get in the game. Let's get in this battle, because we, with only few of us, can defeat, you know, this notion of their dark occult arts. It's like, come on, guys, let's stop talking about what they're doing to us and let's, you know, bust them out with light back to them. And we are essentially, you know.
I come from a Pentecostal upbringing, so I know exactly what you're talking about. This dogma against whatever it is, and when you talk about it, when you tell people that you're able to, the law of attraction, right, where you're able to change, you know, with your thoughts, you're able to achieve it. And for those listening, just because you think of something doesn't mean you don't have to go out and work for it. But if you're able to align yourself in the frequencies, you still have to fucking work for it. You know, you still have, if you want that dream car, you still have to go and get up and work for it. But if you have that mindset, like right now, that fish right there, that's the biggest fish I've ever caught. I manifested that fish on camera. And it was over the process of a day, right? I started the day before, and it was the craziest shit ever, because I was in that mindset, like, oh, you know, and I kept repeating it over and over and over again. I was like, there's got to be a big one out here. There's got over, and my friend was with me, and the rest is history. And I caught it all on camera. It was the craziest shit, but it's possible, and that's why it's called spelling, because you're casting spells, and you need to be careful with what you say. And I think that's a good point to end it on. Mandy, and I'd like to have you back on again whenever you want to talk shit, whatever it is. And this is a pretty good episode.
Hope I talk too much shit, though.
It was just a pretty solid episode. And can you provide your social media again for the people so they can, and I'll post it in the show notes as well.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you, Juan, for having me. It was super awesome conversing with you. My social media on Instagram is theportal_EP. And then my personal page, and you can find my podcast there, their Awake Meditation podcast, is Cosmic.Native on Instagram.
Awesome. And send me those links, please, so I can post it on the show notes. And I look forward to having you back on again soon. And As always, follow me on social media at the Juan Podcast. And as always, until next time.